Hello, YouTube family. My sleep is really screwed up. Yesterday, I pretty much stayed in the bed all day. The only time I got up was to pee, and that was twice. I didn't get up till 7 o'clock last night. So I stayed up all night. It is now 4 o'clock p.m. I laid down a while ago. I slept for 3 hours, so my sleep schedule's all screwed up. I'm going to try to stay up till 11 tonight and then go to bed, get my sleep schedule back on schedule. I've never been this old before, of course. It's the first for me. As a matter of fact, it's the only first you'll get. You don't get to go around a second time. You don't get to do do-overs. And if y'all been watching my videos, you know I've been working on my family tree. And the things I've discovered, somebody before me has went in there and put in all this family information on other trees. And my tree retrieves a lot of this information. For instance, I had a grandfather that was in the Revolutionary War and was at Valley Forge with George Washington. I had a grandfather that was in the War of 1812 with the UK. I had a grandfather that was in the Spanish-American War, somewhere around about 1898, something like that. I had two grandfathers that was in World War I. I had a grandfather. No, I didn't have a grandfather in World War II, but what I had in World War II was a bunch of uncles and cousins. Like, I don't know, cousins early on, once removed or whatever that means. And they were in World War II. I had uncles that was in the Korean War. I had a uncle-in-law that was in the Korean War. My brother was in Vietnam twice. I read an article, I think it was today. Somebody asked the question, they said, why would somebody that did a tour in Vietnam volunteered to go back and do a second tour. I don't know if my baby brother Joe was still alive. I would ask him, because he did that. Actually, he was in there 3 different times. The first time, he went to Vietnam, and about a month later, they sent him to Hawaii because he wasn't 18. He joined the Army at 17. And they didn't put somebody in combat that wasn't at least 18 years old. So that was the first time. Then when he turned 18, back to Vietnam he went. He was wounded. My baby brother Joe, he was wounded in his ass. He caught shrapnel. There was a mortar attack, and he got shrapnel off that in his butt. Got him a Purple Heart. Those Purple Hearts don't mean a whole hell of a lot. I mean, it's just, hey, I got hurt in combat. And when that tour was up, he went back to the States, took his discharge, then decided he wanted to go back, so he volunteered again and volunteered to go back to Vietnam. So that was his 3rd time, actually. I don't know how if I ever had going into combat or something, I don't know how I would have dealt with that. I don't know what my frame of mind would probably be, somebody's going to kill me before I get out of here. That would have been my frame of mind. I have so much admiration for people that was in these wars. And they can call them an action, or what they're going to call it, the war. It's the same thing. I don't know how, I mean, just out, sleeping outside every night, and you don't know what the next day's going to bring. You don't know if you're going to be in a battle of some kind. You just don't know. But these people went on, and seeing people all around them being killed, I don't know how I would have dealt with that. I don't know. I know my stepdad, my second stepdad, J.W. McCullough, he was in World War II. And he got really sick. I forget how old he was. And Mama finally had to put him in a rest home of some kind. I forget. And we knew he was about to die. And I went to visit him. Me and my baby brother George went to visit him at that rest home one night. And he was pretty much out of it. And he kept saying, blanket, blanket. He was cold. And George, he was used to that stuff, you know, right? Because he told me after we left there, he said, you was kind of green around the gills, wasn't you? And he's one said he's got the death rattles, and I don't know what that means, death rattles. But he died that night right after we left. And I wasn't handling that too well, knowing he was laying there dying. Now, I love J.W. He was a pain in the ass about, me and him did a lot of things together. I kind of had more stuff that I did with him than I did my real dad. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. But I don't know how to act around death, you know. I was in the room when my wife passed away. I was sitting there holding her hand. She was on a ventilator. And I okayed them taking her off that ventilator and just let her pass away. Had I known how she would be acting without that ventilator, I would have never took her off that ventilator. On that ventilator, she was just breathing normal. It was breathing for her. They took her off that ventilator, she was like this, and all the time. Short breaths. From the time they took her off to the time she passed away. I was glad I could be there holding her hand when she took her last breath. I immediately noticed how the color just drained from her face and everything. She got kind of a real pale, almost a greenish tint. And I kissed her one last time, and I reached up there and I opened one of her eyes. I just wanted to see her eyes one more time. I pulled I pulled the cover back and looked. She had a big freckle on her left leg. No, her right leg. Big old freckle, about the size of that peel right there. And I always would be going on a trip somewhere, she'd be sitting there and she got shorts on, and I always reach over and play with that freckle. And she had an ear that was deformed. It wasn't noticeable unless you're really paying attention, but it was the top of the ear, instead of curved out like that, it was curved out in like that. And all the years we were married, sometimes I'd reach up there and I'd hold that ear in the shape it's supposed to be in. Of course, it always popped back. And one time she said, "I wish you would quit that. You're not going to fix that ear." And she's always said something like, "The Lord gave me that." Boy, oh boy. One time I was picking up Donovan at high school and was going out the road. I had to go pick up Bud. He was going to middle school. Was it Bud? No, it was Joey. Bud. No, Bud never went to that school. It was Joey. And some idiot pulled out in front of me and it damaged the left front fender. And when the insurance paid off, well, the insurance hadn't paid off yet. We were taking a trip with the damage to that fender and the headlight. And we was going on a trip to North Carolina up in the mountains. And we got up there we got to the last mountain to cross before we got to her mama's house. And it was foggy. And going up and around about them curves and stuff, going up the mountain. And the headlight, it wasn't pointed straight ahead. It was pointed off to an angle and up. And you could see the beam shining through the fog and everything. And she laughed. She laughed the whole way up that mountain, the way that headlight was doing. She peed on herself. Her and one of her sisters, they get tickled and they'd pee on themselves. Oh my gosh. And one time me and her, we was up in the mountains and Annie was with us. And we've been up to Aunt Pearlie, and she lived way up the mountain. And we was coming back down the mountain. Couldn't come down fast, and it was dark. And Annie, hurry up, get home, I got to pee. And directly she got to screaming, stop this car and let me out, I gotta pee. And I hadn't got totally stopped yet. She had that door open and her britches down and peeing right there outside the door. That's my baby sister-in-law. Strange thing about my in-laws, my sister-in-law and brother-in-laws. The oldest sister-in-law, the oldest kid, is still alive. And the youngest kid, which is Annie, is still alive. There's one in between there. His name is Cecil. And but that's the only one that's left. There's 8 of them. One time when me and my wife, we lived up in Hickory, and Annie wanted to come up there and see if she could get a job. So we actually moved into a bigger place so there'd be a bedroom for Annie. And we had Jennifer and Bud. And one of my nephews was staying with Charlie. Charlie loved to spend time with me and my wife. Charlie's dead now too. He died about a year or two ago. But she was sitting in there and in the house, and I was doing something. Me and Charlie was out there doing something. And he did something, I can't remember what it was. He really ticked me off.
30 seconds left.
And I was yammering at him as we was going in, and I said, "You little fool." And boy, Annie blew up when I called him that. And she had a green glass Coca-Cola bottle with Coke in it. Well, no, there wasn't no Coke in it. She wasn't drinking it. It was just a green glass Coke bottle. And I'll tell you what's the truth. If she threw that bottle at me, and it went across the front of my face, if it would have hit me, it probably would have killed me. Whew. And yeah, don't you call my nephew a fool. No. I shouldn't have called him that. But I was careful what I said around her. She is my favorite sister-in-law. I had two favorite sister-in-laws, and well, I had three actually. Reba, or Rebecca, whatever you want to call her, and Chloe, and Annie. I adored my in-laws. They were the family I never had. But when Ma died, my mother-in-law, I loved her to pieces. When she died, the family just fell apart. No. Everybody was mad at everybody, and I don't understand why. They were a close family. Very close. Except for that one brother-in-law, TURK. Everybody called him TURK. Everybody at work called him Slim. His name was Willard Lindsay Shields. He never had no kids. He was a womanizer big time. He was married 3 times. I liked her. Me and him worked at the same places a lot. But he had worked at furniture upholstery for years. I worked at it for 3 years before I ventured off on my own, building my own furniture and stuff. He never did do that. He never could do that for some reason. I won't say he didn't have the sense. He just didn't. He just wasn't good at it. And there was a couple of times he come, I gave him a job at my shops and stuff. And his work wasn't good because he had to upholster the whole thing. In the furniture factories, the only thing he did was build the backs. Yeah, he built backs, you know. In the furniture factory where they make upholstered furniture, one person doesn't do the whole piece. You got right off the bat, it starts out as a frame. Somebody builds that frame, the wood frame, puts it together. Then somebody springs it up, puts the springs in it, stuff like that. Then the first part of the upholstery is the seat, the part that's under the cushions. They build the seat. Then The next thing is the arms. Somebody builds the arms. Then after the arms, somebody builds the back part of it. Then the last station is what they call the trimmer. The trimmer is what I was. The trimmer puts on the outside covers on the outsides of the arm, the outside of the back, outside of the wings, and puts a skirt on it. Then it's finished. Then it goes to an inspector. The inspector looks at it and makes sure everything is okay. And when you get done with whatever, like I was a trimmer, there's a ticket on that work order that's for the frame guy, for the seat guy, the arm guy, the back guy, and the trimmer. Those tickets, you save them and you turn them in on Thursday. That's what you get paid by. I think I specialized in, when I went in business for myself, when I was actually building brand new custom built furniture, I specialized in the high end furniture. In other words, there's chairs you could buy for $100. But the chairs I built ranged anywhere from about $500 to $1,000. It was high-end quality furniture. Most of the time it was reproductions. And I love that. Matter of fact, I think I'll include some photos of some of the high-end furniture that I built. I built samples so people could look at them, but I covered them in muslin. I didn't cover them in fabric. I'll put some of them in here. I love building. I wish I could build one more piece just for me to use. But shoot, in this little house here, can't put that furniture in here. But yeah, that's what TURK did. TURK built bikes. He worked for me 3 different times. And all 3 times I had to fire him. And every time I fired him, he said, "You son of a bitch." But I told him, no drinking, no coming in drunk. I catch you drinking, you're gone if you're drinking on the job. And every time it was him coming in drunk and messing up a piece of furniture. Every time. And every time he'd always say, "You son of a bitch." And he was an alcoholic all his life. When he died, he was drinking. And he was married 3 times. 3 times. I guess I loved the man. But boy, he'd go on a binge drinking. And he could, if he was drunk, there's no way he could build a decent piece of furniture. And when he was working for me, he wasn't doing just the back. He was having to do it all, the whole piece, you know, the seats, the arms, the back, the outside, the whole thing. And he wasn't any good at that. But he did get me a job when I was looking for a job. I was working for a place called Free Service Tire and Appliance, and I was delivering and installing appliances, washers and refrigerators, stuff like that. And I was only getting $1.45 an hour. I was begging for a nickel raise to get me to $1.50 an hour, and they wouldn't give it to me. And I was telling Turk about it, and at that time Turk worked in Hickory, North Carolina, and I was in Asheville. He said, well, you should go where I work, and you can get a job right off the bat, making more than that. He said, they'll probably start you at $1.85 an hour. Well, shoot. I jumped all over that. And I drove to Hickory in my 55 Dodge, blue Dodge. I drove to Hickory, went over there. They hired me on the spot and was going to train me. And that's what they was paying me, $1.85 an hour, training me. And I think they trained me for about 6 months. And after 6 months, I went on piece rates. That's when you get them little tickets you pull off there. And on piece rates, I was making about $3.50 to $4 an hour. And this was in 1968, I think it was. Boy, I was pooping in high cotton. But of course, I wasn't satisfied with that. After about 2 or 3 years, I just went into business for myself, manufacturing furniture and reupholstering furniture. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.